I don't know how many people are going to join us, to be honest, this early in the morning, especially on a post Boxing Day stream as well. I was a bit iffy about doing it myself, but oh well. We shall endeavour to continue as always. But yes, I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas yesterday. I hope you all enjoyed yourself. I know my head's still a bit woozy. But yes, it's you join us on a very, very nice post Christmas morning walk, Boxing Day, all the fun of the fair, shall we say. But yes, it's going to be interesting now. Oh, good morning from Austria. Good morning. Good morning from Blue from Austria. Good morning to you. Ooh, I'll tell you what, it's cold. I'll tell you what, it is cold. This is where I really need to get some fingerless gloves, because I've already got my hand out. The wind is literally, I can barely feel my hand already. It ain't half cold out here today, but yes, it's nonetheless quite a nice morning. We are expecting, I want to say Storm Bertie, or Storm something like that. I know it begins with a B. But yes, apparently that is on its way at some point, I think, although it's going to hit us, I think, this afternoon. So that's going to cause flooding, with obviously areas already receiving some severe flood warnings, and that could prove very interesting as well. Oh, good morning from Denmark. Good morning to you. Welcome. And what's quite bizarre is we talked about this just a few months ago, that Brexit was going to be accompanied by like multitudes of disasters, and it really is turning out to be true. So what was that? Good morning from Hertfordshire. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Because if you remember this time last year, we had, well, roughly this time last year, we had floods in and around the UK as well. Oh, good morning from Berlin. Good morning to you. And believe it or not, places like Fish Lake in Doncaster got absolutely flooded. Oh, good morning to you there. And some of those places in Fish Lake in Doncaster, some of those people still haven't gone back to their houses because of the flooding damage. Because once again, the government just hasn't helped them as much as they really should be doing. Good morning from Luxembourg. Windy there? Yes, it is. It's a bit windy. Hopefully, like I say, I've got my windshield on today, so hopefully that'll do something, but I don't know how much it will do. It depends how fast these wind speeds are going to pick up, but I'm already switching hands because, like I say, I haven't got any gloves on today. Foolishly forgot to put some gloves on, and I think it's like 5 degrees out here today, but I'll tell you what, the wind is whipping around and making it even colder. Yeah, don't worry, we're going to get to talking about Boris's deal. Oh, someone else from Austria joining us there. Good morning from one of the latest regions went to Tier 4. Good morning to you. Oh. Yes, I did have a very good Yuletide, Paz News. I got it this morning. I thought my head's not as bad as it should be, although it's still a bit it's still a bit bad, to be honest, but there you go. So yeah, you know, what to talk about? What to talk about indeed. You know what I'm going to mention in passing? I don't know if you heard, on Christmas Day there was a bomb. Well, they don't think it was a bomb, but the police think it was a deliberate went off in Nashville, and I've always been very, very worried and concerned. And to be honest, I was surprised nothing happened during the Obama years, considering how much the Tea Party were fermenting it. And not only just the Tea Party themselves, but Republicans themselves were really fermenting this anger. And I'm very surprised nothing happened during the Obama years, which I'm quite glad about, to be honest. Let's not understate that. But I hope that on further investigation, this turns out just to be an accident that someone had in their RV. I hope that's what happened. Like I say, I do hope that it wasn't. As someone just mentioned there, I do hope that it wasn't. Because one of the things I've often warned about, when you do this type of very radical politics, which not only Trump has engaged in as well, and you saw just a couple of days ago that that there were people trying to break into the state building just a couple of days ago, saying, you know, supporters of Trump that were doing that. And it's, when you do this type of rhetoric, it's very hard to put it back in its box. And that's where it starts to get worrying, because if the Republicans generally don't step up and deal with Trump and try to either sideline him from the party or not get rid of him, you know, if you've ever watched one of the, you know, the cope streams that people like Hannah Reloaded does on her channel, yeah, like, some of these people are going to be getting visits from, like, the Secret Service. And you're going to be like, some of them have got to be. But it's just unbelievable to... And I hope, to be honest, it's all talk and non-action. I do hope that's what it turns out to be. Because that's what definitely happened, and you saw that during the Obama years. But, you know, I hope it doesn't turn out to be that way. But, anyway, let us turn our attention to Boris, because, like I say, like most people on Christmas Eve, I got up to the news that there was going to be a Brexit deal. I was like, oh, so Boris has finally done a deal. Excellent. And let's be no illusion. Yes, I might absolutely be a Remainer, or you could call me now a Rejoiner, I suppose. But a deal was always going to be in our best interest, to try and keep as close a ties to the EU as possible. That really was always and was going to be our, you know, our objective, to do that. And like I say, until we actually see the full thing, you'll have to forgive me, because I haven't done my research today, but I'm waiting for the full thing, because I don't think you can really comment on something that you've only seen bits and pieces of, at least in its full, because it's very obvious. Oh, hello to you there. Is that gone zero? Was it? Yeah, I think so. But we've got to wait until we see the full thing. And from what we can see, Boris is doing his utmost best to try and delay this. So we've just got to wait and see what happens and when this full thing comes out. So probably next week, we will start to see the whole deal and see what it comes out with. So we're going to have to wait and see for the whole thing. But as someone who's this Kirsten Cruz, Boris absolutely sold out the UK for what? Fish. This will crush the UK. The EU can even impose tariffs whenever they want to. No, no real court, nothing. Was anyone surprised about that? Although, to be honest, from what that was actually quite funny on Christmas Eve, because you saw especially on Twitter, so many people talking about fish who probably in their entire lives have never ever talked about fish in their entire lives. You know, they probably don't even know half the causes really that are causing issues to the fishing industry. So, what's this? Paz News. BBC have a full copy. Laura be telling me the best bits. Two massive ones though. The seed potato businesses within 5 miles of here. Probably, it's true. Yeah, I did hear about that. The seed potato businesses, essentially getting the shaft. Not surprising, to be honest. You know, this is a deal that is going to please no one in the end. It's not going to please the Brexiteers. It's not going to please the Red Wallers. Well, I say the Red Wallers, the Tory MPs who have Red Wall constituencies, because they are the ones who are going to be most hardest hit by this. And in the coming years, they are going to be the ones who have to try and explain to their constituents that they stood on a deal, that they had this oven-ready deal ready to go, and, you know, it was just not there. It really wasn't. What Boris has essentially spent the entire year doing is just making it up. There was no oven-ready deal. What he was referring to was essentially the withdrawal agreement. And Boris and co have done their utmost best to try and essentially, you know, undermine it at every single turn. We saw that with the internal market bill, although those have now been taken out to some extent, especially the law-breaking clauses. And I have to really honestly wonder next year, because it really is what happens next year now. And trust me, a lot of people are going to be suddenly become very aware of tariffs and rules, and it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be very interesting next year. And it's going to see the Brexiteers try and blame the EU, which is going to be hilarious because we're not a member of the EU anymore. So how can you blame, you know, the EU for this? You were the ones saying that we held all the cards, that this was like going to be the easiest deal in history. Turns out not so. And now, next year, we've actually got to start doing trade deals and replacing all the other trade deals that we lost as being members of the EU. And so far, Andy in Germany, how can you blame the EU? Yeah, that's what they're going to say, but it doesn't make sense, because why would the EU be punishing us? They got pretty much everything they want. Yeah, it's going to be a fun year next year, trust me on that one. And what is going to be fun is that they are going to try. Oh, don't worry, we're going to be getting to Labour in a moment. Yeah, we did. We left the Erasmus programme as well. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. So this is going to be next year, the scrambling to try and prove anything positive they possibly can about Brexit. And that's going to be funny. That is really going to be funny. On so many levels. another stream with Max. Well, I'd like to do one at some point. I think it might be worth do it if we can. Maybe do around like New Year's Eve or like New Year's Day. And then I think the best thing would be just to talk about how we ended up here, because that in itself deserves a story. It really does. And I'm probably thinking about, so I think it would be a really good idea, because I've said before, I can edit, I just choose not to. I'm a bit lazy when it comes to that. But I am very, very tempted to put together essentially a video. This is how it happened. This is what happened. This is where we started. This is where we ended up. Because that in itself is a fantastic story. Do you reckon your wall is big enough for all those newspapers? Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see, but apparently from what we've seen, of course, in fact, that's something to note, actually. That's what I also should have done. When the deal was announced, I should have gone and bought all the newspapers that were celebrating the deal and like how fantastic, you know, this deal was. That way, when the soon-to-be infamous "this wasn't the Brexit we voted for" headline comes out, we can compare and contrast the original story of celebrating that Brexit deal with the story that they are now producing of saying that this is the Brexit they voted for and that it's awful and terrible. Scottish parliamentary elections in May. The SNP are going to wipe the floor, as they always normally do now. India F2, probably not under Boris. Probably not under Boris. But again, we'll have to see. Oh. Oh. Morning. But yeah, probably under Boris at all. It's... yeah, the UP must feel like idiots, yeah. Oh, the DUP. What a party that's gone through the whole motions. What a full emotional spectrum they've gone through. From supporting Brexit to even planning street parties and tea parties and supporting Britain's newfound sovereignty, to now, yesterday, coming out on TV, their leader basically saying, Boris has sold us out. I mean, what an emotional journey for the DUP. But, you know, did we expect any less from Boris, really? Like I say, I can't wait to see the economic impact assessments, because hopefully the government themselves are going to produce some, and those will be funny, because there's no way, from what we've already heard, there's been a couple of basic economists and other high business people saying that this deal is going to damage the UK economy in obvious ways, in ways we haven't yet predicted. So yeah, good morning, hope it's not freezing. Well, it's 5, but actually it's warmed up a bit now. At least my hands aren't freezing. Yeah, that is true. I don't know if you saw, yeah, that is true, actually, that's worth bringing up. Apparently the negotiating team essentially brought out like their own scorecard of the deal, and as who was it who said that? L'Assembly chat. You've got it absolutely right. It's like letting students grade their own, grade their own report or their own, exam paper. Of course, they're going to give themselves full marks for everything. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but I am waiting for those economic impact assessments. I am waiting for especially other economists to start weighing in when they have a look at the paper, the quote, the deal, and see what their opinions are on it. And to sum up what someone said on Twitter on Christmas Eve, this is a country that is currently celebrating having a worse trade relationship than they used to have. And that's really going to be true. And we've also, Boris was ultimately and was definitely visited last night, shall we say, of the, especially, on Christmas Eve, shall we say, of the ghost of Brexit consequences yet to come. Because I have said this, that there will be consequences of Brexit that we haven't even predicted or even thought about. So that's definitely one to watch. And like I say, we've got to next year sort out all these trade agreements, which are going to again be quite funny. Oh yeah. That is quite funny. I've heard that as well, that that Boris and his Brexiteers are quite fine with giving freedom of movement to Canada and Australia. Yeah, that is quite funny. But of course, there's an element of racism there that goes into that. And especially when we are negotiating these trade deals, because Brexiteers were very, very quick to go out and celebrate. Oh, we've got a trade deal with Canada. Oh, and we've got a trade deal with Singapore. And you're like, these aren't trade deals. These are what they call rollover deals. They are not permanent. Canada, if it wanted to, at the start of next month, could just go, click, rollover deal cancelled. Same for Singapore. And if you want to see what the future of our trade deals is going to be like, you've only just got to look at what an absolute failure of a deal the Japan deal was. Because it was momentously in favour of the Japanese and only about 17% favour out of us. Fantastic trade deal, guys. Not only that, but remember, Japan is like the second largest foreign investor in this country. Oh, what are you coming over to me for? I don't know. Just a random pony coming over to me. I was like, what's it want? But yeah, they are the second largest foreign investor into this country. Mostly because we prided ourselves on being the gateway to the EU. That was our massive, unique selling point to the Japanese back in the 80s. That's how Margaret Thatcher got them to open the plant in Sunderland in the first place, as well as it being a free port at the time. And we've, in that trade deal with Japan, there is not a single mention of foreign investment. Oh, I've got another galloper. There is not a single mention of foreign investments. It's so ridiculous. Oh, we've got another galloper. There he comes. But yeah, there's no mention at all of, because there are rules regarding that. It is very important that we have that. And investors want to know that. So next year as well, we're probably going to see like foreign investment in this country dry up quite spectacularly, especially from Japan. Yeah, ponies on their own good morning walk, true. And it's spectacular that our British trade negotiating team has, that we're told is meant to be fantastic and, quote, an amazing deal, quoted by Liz Truss, supposedly better than the EU-Japan deal, which by any measurable metric, it is not. For example, I do not know why they've done this, but right, this is just me wading through mud, trying not to lose my welly as well in the process. There you go. I'm going to try and avoid all this. There we go. So, yeah, ultimately we are just going to get worse trade deals. And that is going to be another point in our favour when it comes to rejoining. That, you said we'd get all these fantastic trade deals, and we can just literally compare them to what the EU have to what we have, and they're not going to be as good. But yeah, that's the sum of it up, really. It's, and a lot of people are going to learn that next year. A lot of people are going to learn that next year. What tariffs are, what the rules and regulations will be. And you are right, the UK will now be a rule taker, because apparently they are fine with that, apparently. I haven't heard what, is it Steve Barker? Current head of the ERG. I haven't heard what they've said, but they've been very quiet about it. I think they too were reading through the deal. Okay, bit of a Brexiteer nonsense there, that. The UK can't do better trade deals. Ooh. Because the trade deals the EU has doesn't allow better deals with others. True. Especially in Canada. The Canada deal that they have, the EU actually gets approval of any deal that might affect them. So, so if you think we're going to get a good deal from Canada, and that it's not going to be absolutely ridiculous, like I say, let the Japan deal be your guide. And then, of course, we heard the news that we haven't joined the Erasmus programme. And for those of you that don't know what that is essentially a European standard that was, no matter if you went and got, actually, Yeah, like my friend did. He went and did his doctorate in architecture in Berlin. And I've got another friend. She's currently doing her doctorate in history in the Netherlands. Now, us not being in Erasmus raises serious questions for their degrees. It's, you know, it's completely, you know, if they come back, you know, especially my friend in the Netherlands, if she comes back to the UK, there's a very serious question of doubt whether if her doctorate will be accepted by, because she's a teacher, so she goes like to a university or something like that and says, well, I've got this master's. In fact, even her master's was done in Europe. So there could be a large question of if she applies to to work teaching, like a university or college, whatever, there could be a very large question mark hanging over her head if her qualifications are now legal here. And same if someone got their qualification in the UK, there's no, you know, mutual recognition of their degrees over here. And my friend who got their doctorate in Germany in architecture, you know, he has to go have a meeting with his boss because he got his job based on his his degree in architecture he got from Germany. So I hope he doesn't lose his job. I really hope he doesn't. But, you know, he's worried that could be it. But his boss has, you know, assured him he's not, you know, that he's not going to lose his job because of it. But he's still, you know, under enormous worry that could be the case because there's no mutual recognition of his degree now in the UK. So, yeah, we've just gotten to a point now where there's going to be so much unintended consequences. I mean, those are just two personal stories from people that I know. They've got stuff going on with them. I mean, luckily my friend in the Netherlands, she's probably going to be all right because she's trying to apply for citizenship over there. So I think she's going to be all right. Yeah, no, it does as well. Erasmus covers not only the funding of students abroad, it does cover mutual recognition of degree qualifications as well. Or I might be wrong. I could be wrong on that. But I'm sure that could be the case. We'll have to see. I might be wrong on that, so you could be right there. But yeah, so again, any student wanting to study abroad also gets denied that opportunity as well. Good morning from Shanghai, where we have that wonderful. Oh no, not Shanghai. Singapore. Sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong one. But yeah, you know, there's going to be a ton of stuff that we're going to end up talking about for the future to come. Yeah, that's been the reaction for everyone. Just as Patrick said there, us out of Erasmus is really quite baffling. Because we've seen on numerous occasions, since the beginning really, that farmers were promised that they'd get replacement money from the government. The fishermen were promised that their fuel allowance from the EU would be replaced. And I wouldn't be surprised if Gavin Williamson comes out and says that the UK is going to have some sort of replacement from the Erasmus programme. And bear in mind, whenever they've said this, it's been very quietly ignored, you know. Hence why something, again, we haven't talked about, under You know, under a no-deal scenario, which we've avoided, thankfully, 80% of all small farmers were looking at going bankrupt. So what happens to that number now of small farmers with this deal? That would be something, again, interesting to look into. What is going to happen to those small farmers? We went through that report. I think who did the report now? I want to say the Farmers Union, National Farmers Union. It might not be. It might have been someone else. But we covered it a while ago. In fact, it was almost one of the first things we were talking about back in the day. You know, 80% of small farmers under a no deal were looking at bankruptcy. You know, how many small farmers under this deal could go bankrupt? You know, if it was 80% under no deal, what does the deal that we currently have now mean to that statistic? That will be interesting to know. Yeah, we're dropping out of the common energy market. That means potential energy rises. You know, whenever the UK used to have an energy deficit, for example, National Grid could essentially buy some in over from France. And, you know, back again, that was again another thing we covered back in the day. Of us not being in, I don't know if we're still in Euratom, the European energy policy. Because to move about any form of radioactive good under UN Charter, you must have some sort of agreement with your country. So what does that mean to a lot of medicines and, you know, chemotherapy drugs and things like that that are radioactive? What impact is that going to have on stuff? I don't even know if we're part of that, because again, I haven't looked at the full thing. But if we're not part of Euratom, that is going to cause a lot of problems for people on chemotherapy and things like that. That could be very interesting. And of course, going back to the other thing about the power, you know, Britain used to, when it had a deficit or anything like that, it used to borrow power from the European countries. Well, the European countries and those energy providers just going to be able to charge what they want to the UK, which is going to mean energy price rises going up dramatically next year as well. This could also mean, especially, blackouts. And I don't know about you, but in the UK, it's very hard to think of the last time we were in a blackout that lasted a significant time. And that's what we could be looking at. And that was one of the things, again, one of the very first things we covered back, all the way back in 2017, when we started looking at that. So, in fact, the fishing thing, again, the whole fishing thing is even more strange and weird, because essentially we're going to do this deal with fish that's in the deal. It's only going to last 5 years, and then what? You know, what happens then to you know, what happens then? There's a lot of people who, again, I saw celebrating on Christmas Eve that after 5 years, they were just going to go, you know, and fish as much as they want. But that's the, that's the unfortunate thing now. There's going to be, that could be an issue in 5 years' time. But hopefully, it'll be Labour that's dealing with that by then, hopefully, fingers crossed. But that will be, again, something to keep an eye on. But again, that's a ticking clock that's going to, expire. That will be a problem, something that the Tories have essentially kicked down the road to deal with in 5 years' time. And, you know, it leaves us in a very, very, very bizarre situation. Oh, hang on. Just navigating this quagmire again. Let's go up this way. Note to self, wash boots. Oh, in fact, tell you what, we might have a trip down to the river as we pass it. Oh, don't know if you can hear this. It's squelch, squelch. Oh, there we go. 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 So, in fact, let me just show you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. How muddy I've just come through. Let me just show you. You also get to see a pony as well. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that, all that mud there. It's trailed up to there, and that entire thing has just become so muddy now. It's getting quite impassable. I mean, that's my boots. That's my wellies. But yeah, so we're halfway around, as always. Please do remember to hit that like button. It does help out, gets more people into chat. And of course, if you do like the channel, you know, if you are new, do hit the subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link where you can buy me a coffee. So, thank you very much to all the people that do support me. Right, let's talk about Labour's and Keir Starmer's response to that deal, because that in itself is quite a spectacular thing to talk about. So, one of the big things that Keir Starmer evidently said in his announcement was that Labour were preparing to take power in 5 years. Okay, great. And that he was very clear that this was the Conservative mess. Excellent, great. That's good. You know, make them take the blame for it. And then he said that Labour would vote for it and that he's going to use the whip to do it. For those of you who don't know what the whip is, the whip is a term that we use in our parliament where essentially it's what's used to make MPs vote that way. And it's very, very unusual that when, shall we say, the party leader, shall we say, whips up his party to vote a certain way, it is very, very, very rare indeed that MPs go against the whip. So it will be interesting to see how many Labour MPs do abstain or do vote no. You know, it'll be interesting to see what their reasons are, but I was personally hoping that Starmer would let this be a free vote and essentially let the MPs vote the way that they wanted, because this in itself is a massive trap for Starmer, because now that Labour vote for it, what they can essentially do is that the Tories can now blame Labour for the failings of Brexit. Any failings that might happen, any disasters that might befall us, any Tory member can turn around and say, but you voted for it as well. So it makes it a huge trap, and Starmer has walked straight into it. And, you know, And it gets even worse. It gets even worse because one of the things that Starmer said was that Labour's going to be the next government in control. That was his big promise. You know, it's going to be up to Labour to fix the problems of Brexit. And it's like, yep, true. But that means Starmer has to put out policies, and he has resisted ever since he became leader, putting out of this is what the Starmer government would do. And I have said multiple times when we've covered this, I am 50-50 on this, because I think should put out some policies and set out what it actually means for a Labour government to be in power and what they intend to do. The other part of me does agree with the agreement that a lot of people say when you bring this up, oh, he can't do that because things are going to be different in 5 years' time. And, you know, he's accused of U-turning. But he's got to put out some policy. He's got to put out what the party intends to do. You know, people bash Corbyn all he likes, but at least Corbyn had policies that he continuously said, if I get into power, this is what we're going to promote. Starmer has done nothing like that. So we are still left in this limbo of just not knowing. And one of the funny things was, Starmer goes, okay, there's two options here. We go and we renegotiate this deal and we deal with it, we deal with the consequences. Or what was the other one now? Because it was a binary choice. It was like, we either don't or we do. But I'm like, hold on, guys, there's a third choice here. Because by the next election, one of the things that will have become very, very evidently clear is that Brexit will not have worked. It will not have turned out to be the sunny lit uplands that the Brexiteers and even Conservatives promised. Oh, so we were going to go down that way. However, as you can see, it's a bit flooded, so we'll take the other way down. Yeah, it's a bit of a wash in the lake, in the river. But the very obvious one is he missed out a third option, and that option is rejoining. Why can't Britain and her party pursue, you know, a rejoining relationship with the EU? It makes perfect sense too. If Brexit has failed and that the promises that were made can't be maintained, especially by the Conservative Party, Labour leavers who said, oh, we can do this, ho, you know, well, oh yeah, we're just giving the wellies a good old wash. Don't know if you can see that. I can't see it, but there you go. So, yeah, it's you know, it is an option, and for some reason Starmer didn't seem to accept that, but it was like so glaringly obvious, and you're like, you know, by that next election, it is going to be very, very obvious that Brexit didn't work. And so, what do you do? Well, as we said just a couple of weeks ago, You know, any deal that's worked by Boris will have to be by future prime ministers, be they Conservative or be they Labour, will have to pursue closer economic ties to make sure that the UK prospers. We are in a situation where we have empirical, observable facts that countries do more trade with their closest trading partners than they do with the ones who are further away. Brexiteers are obsessed with doing these trade deals with countries that are halfway around the world and who want to join the TTP. Well, hold on a sec, guys. The TTP will be having mutual recognised standards. The trade deal we've signed with Japan has actually worsened our privacy protections. You know, next year, when you start getting a load of more spam emails and even more nuisance calls, that will be because of our worsened privacy protections, because more companies will be able to get hold of your data and even sell it without your knowledge. You know? There you have it. You know, it's unbelievable, but there you have it. And yet these are groups that, you know, the Brexiteers especially are complete free market fundamentalists. They're also, not too surprisingly, the ones who are most in favour of the anti-lockdown stuff as well, because it meshes perfectly with their free market fundamentalism. You know, there might be a deadly disease out there, but you know what? People deserve the freedom to go out and die and infect their entire families, because that is what they are essentially campaigning for, even though they won't outright admit that. And of course we've got, you know, Farage. We don't know what Farage is going to do. I highly expect we probably won't see that now until the new year, but we know he's got a, quote, new party going. Yeah, there will be a border in Scotland soon, and that's going to cause problems for Scotland. So good luck for that. Yeah, nothing says freedom like dying. Yeah, true. You know, we are in, you know, next year's really going to be bad. It's going to be bad for so many people. We've got a huge problem with unemployment. We're looking at huge numbers of people being made homeless. You know, we're going to have, you know, austerity on steroids, as I like to call it. But, you know, this is what, you know, you voted for, guys. Morning. But nevertheless, at least we have a deal and we've avoided the cliff edge of a no-deal Brexit. And now what we've got to do, we've got to start rebuilding the bridge back to Europe. And it will be, might be easier than you think. Because the whole reason the UK joined the European Union in the first place was because it was becoming known as the sick man of Europe, because it had relied for so long on its colonies and its imports from the colonies to keep it competitive in a market that was already surpassing it by that point. And of course, when Britain lost its colonies, in an exact turn of what we are essentially doing now, is that Britain reached out to all its, you know, former dependencies and allies and tried to do these trade deals. And none of it worked. None of it worked. And that led us to rejoining, not rejoining, but joining the EU in the first place. And Boris Johnson, and especially the free market fundamentalists in his party, aka the Brexiteers, are now somehow determined that they think they can make that work somehow. Again, they haven't exactly said, even in Britannia Unchained, coming soon. Yes, I found a second-hand copy that I could buy, so I bought a second-hand copy. It's a bit dog-eared, but it's on its way. Because I think that book is going to be very, very important to read coming next year, because this is going to underline pretty much all what the Tories are going to be pushing for. They will push for more deregulation, getting rid of workers' rights, and, you know, more, quote, trickle-down economics. And it is going to be bad for everyone, because a lot of people, when you genuinely talk to them, voted for Brexit because they thought in some way it would make their lives better. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. And there is going to be a lot of anger from those people. And it is very important that we as rejoiners don't gloat, don't make fun of these people, and that we bring them on side. Because if we ignore them and we gloat at them, then essentially they're just going to run right into the arms of Nigel Farage's new party. And that should concern you. Because we've said it many times before, Nigel Farage is no friend to the working class man in the UK. To Nigel, they're just a very convenient prop. You know, he turns up in a pub, you know, does his prop shoot before he drinks half a pint, but kicks out all the locals and regulars, and then you have to pay an absolute arm and a leg to essentially pay for the privilege of having a drink with Nigel. And he doesn't talk to them, by the way, because he's surrounded by his his flunkies. But there you go. So it's going to be bad. The question is just how bad. That's the big question. Of course, we've already got lorries stacking up along the N20. How many members of the ERG are there? We don't actually know. There's meant to be about 62, but there are other MPs that are a member of the party, or members of it, but aren't declared that they're part of it. So that could be very interesting. And you are right saying there that not being open and public about it, as someone who is a public and civil servant, we should actually have the right to know that. Of course, the ERG members have fought for quite some time to keep that information private. So take of that what you will. Oh, a heron. Is it a heron? I don't know. Can't see it too far away. Oh no, it's a pigeon. Oh, it's a pigeon. Very big pigeon though, say that. But yeah, it all comes into what happens next year now. Brexit is going to be a disaster from day one. You know, it is going to immediately fail from, you know, the 1st of January. None of the promises that the Leavers made to anyone is going to be fulfilled or even Kepler. And of course, one of the big covers that we are going to see used to cover the damage of Brexit will be COVID. So, you know, we've got a very, very serious problem there. That's going to be one challenge that we are going to have to fight to show, no, it's not COVID, it's Brexit that's causing this mess. Because just as I said last time we were on a Good Morning Walk, we were facing one of the deepest recessions of any G7 country and any other country in Europe. Why was that compared to all the others? What was different about us? Well, Brexit. So, you know, it was already having an effect on us, and, you know, expect that to continue. You know, the reason why we're just so ineffectual against the coronavirus is partly because Boris is surrounded by people who are yes men and are completely incapable of doing what they want. But Boris is also scared of his own party, because you have the what they call now, the coronavirus, the CPR, the coronavirus, I can't remember what they're called now, but it's another ERG type group who are pretty much anti-lockdown, and as we said there, are basically very willing to say to people, yeah, people should have the freedom to essentially go out and die. See, at the end of the day, Boris is a free market fundamentalist, just like the majority of the Conservative Party now seem to be. And to a free market fundamentalist, this virus stops businesses from making money. And to them, that's the worst part of all. You know, sod that people aren't, you know, working. It's all about those businesses making money. Hence why we have seen, oh, I don't know if you hear me, the wind's quite strong, but hopefully I'm coming through. Is hopefully that, you know, you've seen Boris give out so many contracts to like flunkies and cronies. Even Matt Hancock gave a contract to his former pub landlord who had no experience running any company like this ever before. And I sincerely hope that we get an open inquiry into just what went on with the coronavirus, because we need one. And you'll notice whenever the Tories talk about this, they're like, yeah, we're going to get absolutely slated. It's going to be, you know, the end of days for us. So one thing that we can definitely expect after all this has been, you know, said and done, the Conservatives and the Tories are going to fight tooth and nail against not having one. In fact, I can very, very clearly see them, first of all, them fighting for it not to be an open process, that they're going to say that it needs to be closed for some arbitrary reason. The next thing you're going to have is that Boris isn't going to take responsibility, and neither are any members of his cabinet. So, in fact, let's review that. Under these types of crises, normally you'd expect to see a minister resign. No one has resigned. Retrofly, how was your Christmas rum? Very nice, actually. No one has resigned except senior civil servants. The blame has been put on senior civil servants. And I highly suspect that that is going to be the case come that investigation. And my message, if you're a senior civil servant, is I'd say start gathering your evidence for that inquiry now and start preparing yourself, because you're going to be the one that takes the blame. So get your evidence ready, so that when they do blame you, you can just turn around and say, well, but that wasn't my fault. You see, I went to Matt Hancock on this day and said this, this, and this. You know, be prepared for the inquiry to come, because that is going to be an absolute, you know, it's going to be an absolute slaying of the Tory party. And that's going to be the truth of what is to come. So it doesn't look like we're going to get ponies on the way home today, so there's some over there for you. Don't know if you can see them, but they're out there. So yeah, none of this is going to be good next year. And like I say, the fight really starts next year to try and keep hold of so many rights, so many laws and protections that protect people, not only just in work, but help protect consumers. You know, oh, someone's going. And in Germany, I'd recommend reading to a Brexit, What the Hell Happens Next by Ian Dunt. I'm sure your daughter will appreciate that. I'm sure she'll love a good political book. So yeah, it all starts next year, and it's all going to start probably with Rishi Sunak coming out very soon after the new year. Maybe, don't know how soon he's going to come out, but he will come out with some sort of new budget, and this new budget is going to be austerity like we haven't seen before. And that is going to annoy so many people, because one of the things that we really need to talk about is one of the root causes for you know, Brexit was the 2008 crash, and the fact that when the coalition government got in, the Conservatives started making things worse, and that the Lib Dems, to a point, did hold them back somewhat, but not enough. And when they got in again with Cameron, they just went even harder for austerity. And as always, we always tell you on this, austerity was a choice, and it was a politically driven choice. It was not an economic necessity. You know, one of the things that Argentina have done is Argentina have, their government has just essentially deployed a one-off tax for the rich. And if we did it, we could get something like 200 and, I think it's like 2,000, almost close to something like £3 billion, something like that. And that is a lot of money that we can put in to paying off the furlough bill, or, you know, increasing the furlough bill so that people can have money they need to survive, and putting it into other various programs to help, you know, the economic recovery of the UK. But of course, the Conservatives aren't going to do anything of the sort. To them, they are obsessed with this new free market radical ideology that they've now taken hold of the party. And as a article we went over just a couple of, was it last week? It was the Conservative Party used to be violently opposed to any form of radicalism, regardless of what it was. And now they've embraced this. So next year, my friends, it's going to be fun. And in fact, I do believe the next Good Morning Walk will take place next year. So thank you all for joining us today on this fantastic Good Morning Walk again. Thank you very much. I did hope you enjoyed your Christmas. Do enjoy the rest of your Christmas activities today. Thanks for joining us as always. Please do remember to hit that like button on the way out. And obviously down below there is a link to my Patreon page should you like to become a patron of mine. And we've got a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee. But before you all go, I have a very special announcement to make. Now, my patrons know that I have made this announcement before. So, news time for you all. So, we're about, just over, coming up close to about, where are we now? 7,000 subscribers, roughly. So, I have said this. When we get to 10,000 subscribers, I will give you a gift, the best gift you could possibly imagine. Because, as some of you who are watching Max's chat with me know, I do not know who Jeff Taylor is. And I will keep it that way for you. Because when we get to 10,000 subscribers, I will do a live stream. And we will introduce, or you can introduce me to the man, Jeff Taylor himself. Think of it as a Jeff Taylor marathon. And we can go back all the way back to his referendum videos. We will go through his entire library, and I promise you it's going to be fun, because I haven't watched anything the man has done, and I'm going to abstain from watching anything he does until we hit that mark and we do the live stream. So like I say, so if you want that, and you want that experience, do remember to hit that subscribe button. Do hit that like button, because it does help out the channel and help spread the word about the channel. Jeff GT is a deep fake. So have an absolute corker of the rest of your holidays. Have an absolute fantastic time. I've still got a bottle of rum. And obviously, when we hit 10,000 subscribers, look forward to the, I don't know, Jeff Taylor Marathon, shall we call it? Jeff-thron? I don't really know. But yes, like I say, thank you for joining me today. Go and enjoy it. Do remember to hit that thumbs up, because it will help out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and spread the word, spread the news. Jeff Taylor Marathon happening 2021. We don't know when, but it will be when we hit 10,000 subscribers. So until then, enjoy yourself. If you can't be safe, be sensible, and we'll see you next time for another Good Morning Walk.